Independence Day week, and we are looking at the fate of this government at the moment. We're looking at how this government is dealing with the slew of corruption charges that are ranged against it, and what is the fate of the anti-corruption movement. You had a point for Abhishek Manu Singhvi where you were saying that you couldn't understand why the government is insisting on keeping the Prime Minister out of the Lokpal.
Yes, exactly. But before that, the worry, both Manu Singhvi is correct and also Harish Salve, that the time has now come to forget the rest. Make sure that we have a good Lokpal bill. I think that is on the agenda. Two things here. The worry that we have about the Parliament being the final arbiter of this. Left to themselves, no politician wants a Lokpal. They don't want a Damocles sword hand, whichever party. So there is a fear that the self-interest of the political class, which is in the Parliament, will ensure a weak, attenuated, meaningless, dummy Lokpal. So therefore it is extremely important that pressure should be put. I mean a large group, the entire civil society, number one. Having said that, I think PM, I agree entirely with, I think PM should be there. He is there under corruption law, he is there under IPC, CRPC. What is so special about Lokpal Ball that big bill should not be there?
Abhishek Manu Singhvi, let me just get a respondent.
Let me complete two other minor points. Judiciary entirely agree, which is fraught with major consequences. If the country is held together today, it is because of the garima of the judiciary. This transparent, open inquiry system against judiciary may bring down the reputation of the judiciary. And lastly, the key point is this. If it does only one thing against the public official, it should have the power to look at prima facie first-cut evidence and then say, you step aside in a final manner without any question, like an umpire in a cricket match, you step aside till you are cleared by the courts. If that power is given unequivocally, I would say nothing else matters, is the only thing that matters.
Mr. Singhvi.
Sagar, yeah, very quickly. I'm not going to answer all the points because I want to be very, cautious about what I say on such matters since I'm sitting on as the chairman of a committee. But let me make some very quick points. Firstly, if we have apprehensions in a real sense about Parliament, then we have no option but to abolish Parliament itself and parliamentary democracy.
No.
You have to live with it. You have to understand that when Parliament does something perverse or unreasonable, it takes the risk of being dealt with by the people in a particular way. And let me assure you that despite all the words and the adjectives and the brickbats thrown, parliamentarians realize very well the public mood. So don't be pessimistic about it. That's point number one. Point number two, I must tell you that there is virtually what I would like to call a judicial Lokpal bill, which our committee is in the very final stages of finalizing, the Judicial Accountability Bill. Now, please do not think that I am saying that everybody agrees with it. There will be disagreement. But I personally, and I am saying this is only my personal view, the committee and the property of Parliament will decide and go into it starting tomorrow. But there is much to be said for the view that the judiciary should be out of the Lokpal and instead should be dealt with by the Judicial Accountability Bill, which is in the final
stage. The Prime Minister, what about the Prime Minister?
As a report to go back. I'm not going to comment because I'm going to only say this. We are really open to every view. There are very strong arguments why the Prime Minister can be considered as a deferred mode prosecution. There are strong arguments to suggest that he should be even out altogether. And there are, of course, arguments the civil society is making why he should be in. Now, I have my own choice of arguments, but I am going to wait and watch. I think there is a very good debate in the committee on this, and we'll take what we think.
So you're open to it? So the government is open to it? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
That the government is open to the Prime Minister being put under the Lokpal?
No, I'm not saying government. I'm sorry, Sagarika, I'm not saying government. Please don't miss it. I'm saying the committee before whom the property of Parliament has been referred. That's our committee. Please don't, I don't speak for the government.
Okay.
But certainly, we are extremely happy that tomorrow, Shri Anna Hazare and some of the members are coming, and we are kick-starting the proceedings by listening to them after the Secretary of the Ministry makes a presentation. So I think this is the constructive spirit. The point is you sit back and you cavil and you start criticizing that why did you do it? Why did you not do it earlier? If you did it now, you did it under pressure. You did it now, you did it under motivation. That's a futile debate.
Ms. Kiran Bedi, is your attitude too negative? Are you too negative about the government? Are you not willing to look at the government as also meeting you halfway?
Oh, how do you meet halfway? Here is a patient seriously ill. Does he need a dispensary, or does he need surgery, or he needs an intensive care unit? And should the patient be happy with the dispensary? Here is a patient which you are showing the body politic is totally corrupt. And you are trying to say, go to a police station, and actually needs something else. It needs an intensive care unit. So you be happy with it? I think that's what you're trying to say. I think that's the second point. My second point is that the media and most of the panelists take you towards judiciary and Prime Minister. We are continuously saying, let the media talk about a common man. The poor man in Tehsil, in Panchayat is not getting anything. Why don't we make that a focus?
Make the common man a focus.
You neither effective.
Mr. Rajiv Chandrasekhar, do you think that the government is being a little too zealous in protecting its powers and saying that, you know, this is the powers of the parliament, these are the powers of the judiciary, of the prime minister, of the elected representatives, that we will not compromise on these powers because they will endanger democracy? Is this sort of endangering democracy argument, endangering the republic argument, endangering the constitution argument? Is that wrong on the part of the government? Should the government actually look much more clearly at a complete overhaul of much more open?
No, Sagarika, let's be very clear on this. Strengthening governance and making government more accountable to the people is not endangering democracy. It is actually strengthening the republic and strengthening democracy. To go back to a point that somebody made earlier on the panel, this is going to be a tough task to get the political system and the governance system transformed, and this is exactly the effort that's underway. We are trying to change the status quo of what the government represents today. This is not going to be easy. There is going to be a lot of pushback from vested interests, from politicians, from bureaucrats, and they will use all kinds of excuses, including, you know, bringing in God and democracy into this mix. But we have to persevere because the objective has to be to transform government and give ourselves the government that we want.
Right, and we're completely, unfortunately, out of time. We have 10 seconds, not more.
I've been listening to all these legal opinions very carefully, and I'm not a lawyer myself. But what has surprised me is that we all believe that there are only two versions. There's the government version and there's the Jan Lok.
There is the third version.
The NCPRI, the organization that started discussion about all these things, about corruption, etc., has put a different alternative. Let's look at that.
That's
Just one more thing, Sagarika.
Yeah.
There's something called timing in politics. I believe UPA will do all the correct things that ought to be done, but it will do it when people believe that it did. No, when people believe that it has done it against its own volition and will therefore lose credibility. काम भी करेंगे, इज्जत भी गंवाएंगे.
Okay, so the UPA will shoot itself in the foot once again. Abhishek Manu Singh is not going to like that, but thank you very much indeed, Mr. Rajiv Chandrasekhar, Mr. Harish Salve, Ms. Kiran Bedi there joining us. Mr. Abhishek Manu Singh, T.S.R. Subramaniam, Yogendra Yadav, thanks very much indeed for joining us. That was State of the Nation on corruption. Tomorrow, State of the Nation is back. We're looking at another troubled question, land acquisition and economy. We're bringing you findings of our special poll. Don't go anywhere. Tune in to us tomorrow at 10 o'clock.
Brought to you by Sensodyne Rapid Relief. Works in 60 seconds. And Naukri.com, India's #1 job site.